analysis on KCB. My name is Rotich, and I'm joined by James Njogu, Joseph Theuri, Keith Maru, and Bob Money. We issue a buy recommendation at a target price of 33.71 shillings, which is an upside of 30% as at 17th February 2017. KCB is the largest bank in East and Central Africa in terms of assets. The graph depicts how the group stock has been performing over the past 52 weeks. So before we tell you why it's a buy, let's know a little bit more about the business. KCB has 4 main segments, and the largest contributor is the corporate banking at 4%. KCB Group is a holding company with subsidiaries within the East African region. And when it comes to shareholding, the government of Kenya is the largest shareholder at 23%. So ladies and gentlemen, why are we saying it's a buy? We came up with 3 key drivers. The first one is digital channel growth, whose revenue contribution stood at 65.6% as per the 2016 financial report. The second one is profitability amidst strong regulation. Here we consider the interest rate cap and IFRS 9 expected to be implemented on 1st January 2018. Finally, we have local experience. The bank has been in the region for over 120 years, and as such, it knows where to take its business and the right kind of partnerships to form. An example is KCB M-Pesa. Finally, we look at the strategies. KCB has 7 key areas in its 2015-2019 strategic framework. However, we focused on 3 key ones. The first one is robust IT. Secondly, we have consolidation of international businesses. And thirdly, we have strategic partnerships. Thank you. I hereby welcome Keith.
Thank you very much, Ruli. Now, having understood how the business has been operating, it's prudent that we understand the operating environment within which KCB operates. So to begin with, we analyze Kenya, whose contribution to KCB is at 84% in terms of net assets, and we see that the economy has actually been growing at a rate of 5% over the last 4 years. Similarly, the state of the banking sector is enjoying relative success, with its proportion of assets at 56%, which is about 3.5 trillion as of 2015. The banking sector is also classified by a large degree of permanence, with technological update for the banks and within the sector to be able to increase the operational efficiencies. Now, moving on to the trends, we see that the interest rate cap is the most significant effect, with it leading to a decline in credit growth from 17% in 2015's third quarter to 5% within 2016's last quarter. We see that currently the customer deposits are at 2.49 trillion, and its assets are currently at 3.5 trillion, which is a 56% proportion of GDP. The current growth rate is 13% for this particular branches. So now moving on to the expenses, moving on to the profitability, beg your pardon, we see that expenses rose faster than revenue growth, owing to profitability declined, owing to an expense rising faster than operating profits. In terms of the Porter's 5 forces, we see that the competitive rivalry proved to be the most significant force, leading to most of the banks in the sector feeling the effect. Now, KCB is ahead of its competitors in terms of profit before tax, as well as net assets, highlighting how it's performing relative to its peers. In terms of market share, as displayed there, we can see that its metrics currently stand higher above most of them. It leads in every other aspect other than market capitalization, and it plans on increasing it by having financial consolidation. Moving on to corporate governance, we assign a score of 6.8 as displayed, owing to the group's measures according to the OECD principles. In terms of the CSR initiatives and other factors, KCB Foundation and the Tujiajiri program led to the bank performing relatively well. I now invite JT to have a look at the financial analysis.
Now, examining KCB's financials, the numbers speak for themselves. In 2016, KCB recorded a profit before tax of 29 billion, which represented a 10% increase from the previous years. This was backed by total interest income of 62.8 billion, with gross customer loans of nearly 400 billion and a net interest margin of 9.6%. In the same year, KCB recorded an ROE of 22.2%, with a 5-year compounded annual growth rate on PBT standing at 24%. Now, as much as these numbers depict of KCB's profitability, we cannot ignore the effect that the interest rate capping will have moving forward. On this front, we expect, with reduced margins and stronger regulations, banks will now focus on non-interest income, employ cost reduction strategies, as well as improve on their asset quality. So what steps has KCB taken towards this? We see that the non-funded income has been growing year on year, with the NFI to total income coming to levels of 32.3% in 2016, and we project that by 2020, this would have arrived to levels of 37.3%. On the cost perspective, we see that the cost-to-income ratio has been steadily declining to levels of 47.1% in 2016, and we expect this trend to continue moving forward. Their loan growth as well as their deposit growth has been above industry numbers. However, looking at the asset quality, we see that in 2016, KCB recorded an NPL to loan ratio of 8%. We compare this to its peers, and with the exception of Standard Chartered Bank, we saw that KCB has the highest NPL to loan ratio. However, we believe that management has the potential of bringing these numbers down to levels as it did in 2015, below the industry average. And I welcome Bob to take us through the valuation.
Thank you, Joseph. So with regards to the valuation of KCB, we considered 4 standard approaches. First off is the dividend discount model, and in arriving at the cost of equity of 20.67%, our key assumptions were a risk-free rate of 13.11%, representing the yield on a 5-year treasury bond, a beta of 1.3, and a market risk premium of 6.4%. Other key assumptions were a payout ratio of 37%, representing the average over the past 3 years. And in arriving at the terminal value, we consider using the H model as opposed to the golden growth model, as this assumes a linear growth of dividends up to the terminal growth of 5%, which we assume to the long-term GDP growth rate. All these factored in gave us a price of 32.9 shillings. Moving on, we also considered the residual income valuation, and the key thing to note is that ROA ranges between 21% and 23% over the focus period. This is above the cost of equity of 20.67%, implying therefore that KCB will give returns in excess of shareholders' expectations going forward. This gave us a price of 34.89. We also considered relative valuation using price to equity and price to book multiples. And in selecting the peer companies, we considered banks currently listed in the Nairobi Securities Exchange, with the exemption of National Bank of Kenya, which recorded poor performance in 2015. This gave us a price of 36 shillings and 30 shillings respectively. So how did we arrive at the final price of 33.71? Well, we assigned higher weighting to DDM and residual income valuations, as this look at the intrinsic elements of the company, factoring growth prospects going forward, as opposed to price to equity and price to book, which tend to have a more static approach. We also did a sensitivity analysis of this final price, taking into account CBR, cost of equity, and terminal growth rates, and we deemed these to be the most sensitive factors. And as we can see, the price ranges between 31 shillings and 39 shillings, which still reiterates our buy recommendation. And I invite James to take us through risk analysis.
Thank you, Bob. In our risk analysis, we developed a risk matrix showing the potential risk versus the impact. We identified political risk, economic risk, and cyber risk as the main risks moving forward. With the upcoming general elections, we expect credit uptake in the economy to slow down, and this will affect KCB's margin. Also, with the group's strategic move towards digital channels, we expect KCB will continue facing cyber risk and cyber attacks in the future. However, KCB has taken prudent measures to mitigate against these risks. KCB has diversified its loan portfolio across the different economic segments, and also KCB has raised an additional $75 billion in Tier 2 capital. This will act as a buffer against any unexpected economic shocks in the future. To deal with operational risks, KCB has partnered with Net Guardians, and we believe this strategic partnership will put KCB at the forefront of operational risk management. Also, KCB keeps tabs with the latest core IT systems, and this will help it mitigate against any cyber attacks in the future. Integrating all these together, we considered a Monte Carlo simulation. We simulated all the key drivers, the CBR, the loan-to-deposit ratio, and the terminal growth rate, which was pegged at the GDP. We did 10,000 iterations, and we arrived at a mean price of 33.59, as shown with the graph. Consider this is close to our target price of 33.71. This closeness puts KCB well to the buy zone, as shown by the graph. We also, in our analysis also, we discovered that KCB has an upside potential of near 90%. And with this, I reiterate our buy recommendation.
Now to wrap it all up, what we have seen is East and Central Africa's largest bank, leveraging on its 120 years of local experience to form key strategic partnerships. With a focus on digital channel growth, KCB has managed to remain profitable amid strong regulation. Combining these factors, the risk mitigating elements put in place, and the results of our Monte Carlo simulation, we reiterate our buy recommendation. Thank you. We now welcome your questions.
What gives you assurance that the banking sector in Kenya is going to continue growing significantly?
The banking sector is going to grow in line with how the country is going to do, and with the state at which our economy is developing, beg your pardon, we expect it to grow in that line. So we expect contribution from certain sectors, such as the financial sector, boosted by non-funded income specifically for banks and across banks, with banks opting to take up operational efficiency through financial technology. And as such, we expect the banking sector will outperform in other regions. Remember, we're a developing economy, so our potential to grow in terms of with other sectors dragging on the growth is quite high as opposed to the rest of the world. And if you compare the banking sector in other worlds, in other economies, you see that these economies are already well developed, so they already have systems in place. The capacity that developing countries such as Kenya have is quite high, and so we expect it to be able to grow in that line.
The Kenyan market, let me say the East African sector, is taking a different direction from what the world is taking. What am I talking about? I'm talking about digital, the mobile phone. If you, M-Pesa, for example, has really not performed well if you compare other countries, but when you come to Kenya, it really made money. And what is happening right now, we're expecting a product called PesaLink. The revenue contribution is growing by a significant percentage, 65.6%. So we think that, we actually don't think, we know that if the banks continue capitalizing on this platform, then they have a very good chance of performing very well and growing.
You indicated that you expect non-funded income to be 7%.
Yes.
Of income.
Yes.
By 2019?
2020.
Yes. Exactly what strategies, or why do you feel it's going to increase in terms of proportion of income going forward?
You're looking at the digital side of growth, particularly
the elements of mobile money transfer agents. So they're capitalizing on transaction costs moving forward, because yes, now there's the interest rate problem, the margins are reduced. So now they will focus on looking at alternative means of growing it, and particularly for the digital channel growth. So that is where they aim to now grow the non-funded income primarily from.
Secondly, market penetration. Why did KCB partner with Safaricom? They know that Safaricom actually encourages people to buy phones. They actually sell the mobile phones to people who come to their stores. So through that, and the rate at which Kenyans now get access to Android phones, iPhones, then that's how they'll increase the market penetration. That is why he reiterated on the fact that KCB has a very good market share, and compared to all those other banks in East Africa. Yes.
My question would be on the valuation. One of the assumptions I saw you made is that a market risk premium of 6.4.
Yes.
I wanted to know how it came up with that. And then just break down the cost of equity. I saw 20.6. Yeah, so just break down.
Okay, so maybe I'll just start by breaking down the cost of equity. So the risk-free rate is 30.1%, which is pegged on a 5-year treasury bond. That's the yield on that. And the beta, we got the figure from Bloomberg, giving us 1.4, and we did our own regression analysis over one year, which gave us 1.2. So we took a prudent measure and took an average of the two, giving us a beta of 1.3. With regards to the market risk premium, we got it from Aswad Model Research, where we saw that the country risk premium for Kenya is actually 6.4%. So that's what we got factored in to give us the cost of equity of 20.6.
Just in addition, on the 13.11% interest 5-year treasury bond, you have to know that we picked after the cap happened, because we don't expect the dynamics to pivot before the cap and after the cap to be the same. So we didn't pick several, but we picked one because we knew that is the one that will abide by the current dynamics in the market.
And how does that now compare to the return of the business?
Sorry?
To the return on equity to the business?
Yeah, so this is the cost of equity recorded 20.67. The ROE for 2016 stands at 22.2%. So we see that the return is actually above the cost of equity.
You projected the return on equity
Going forward, yeah. Yes, it is above the cost of equity.
The 2016 numbers for KCB were way above the industry average.
Yes.
So something must have happened to cause those numbers to go crazy, higher
Yes.
than the industry average. What gives you that assurance that those numbers are going to come down?
We calculated the NPL to loan ratio for the companies, for the peer companies as well. We see that Standard Chartered is at 12%, equity has risen to 6%. So we see a general rise in NPL to loan ratio across. However, KCB has been able from 2013 to 2015 to reduce it using their strategy. So in the same way that they did that before, they can still do it now.
Can you show me when they did it before? And second question after that is, why do you think the NPLs increased?
Okay, so if we go to from 2013 to 2015, the NPL ratio was above 8%. So we see that steady decline from 2013 to 2015. The blue line marks the industry average. So we see that decline going forward. At the same time, now we believe that they can do.
Increased in 2014, but then increased again in 2015.
Yes, but they were now below the industry average. So our expectation is that they can bring it, the NPL to loan ratio, below the industry average, not to reduce them, but have them below the industry average. I think that's what I said. If I didn't, sorry, that was the message that I wanted to pass across.
Okay, leaving aside industry average, what is it in absolute terms?
The NPL, it is around 32.
And how much has it increased or decreased in absolute terms?
From 2015 to?
From during that time period?
The percentage increase in NPL was about 20% from the loan.
Okay.
Yeah, but they took up more loans. We saw the loan book growing, now levels of 400 B.
So the growth in loan book is coming at the expense of.
Yes, both of them are growing. So you would expect.
In terms of you're growing your book your asset book, but your loan book, but at the same time you're increasing the NPLs.
Yes, because now.
So with the interest rate cap, is it the right strategy for the bank to go into the micro sector lending, which I've seen is going and NPLs is going up?
Yes, now that is what we were looking into. So we have them now concentrating on corporates. Corporates have a better credit scoring compared to smaller people, microcredit. So in these previous years, they were increasing their corporate lending. However, now they started also lending to microcredit, probably as a strategy as well because of interest rate capping. So you increase your turnover. However, that didn't turn out as well. So we saw that the NPL to loan ratio went up. However, if they reverse this, we expect that they can bring them down.
Have you done an analysis of how much the NPLs have grown in absolute terms?
So that's how it's been moving.
So the NPL has been growing against the loans?
Yes.
In KCB's
so the NPLs grew faster than.
So you're saying it's, and one of the reasons you say is because the loan book is increasing. So are you saying that they're giving out bad loans fresh? Are you saying the fresh new loans are all bad or what?
It's not that they're all bad, but as you...
High percentages are not bad, so they don't know what they're doing.
In a sense,
and you say that as a result of that, they will still reduce them.
Yeah, we expect them now to realize something went wrong. Yeah. So now...
What if they don't realize? What makes you so sure that what befell NBK will not befall KCB?
Well, management's actions before in bringing down NPL profitability and all they're doing, reducing costs, and at the same time reducing the cost strategies, you can see that management is making that effort to make sure that they're as profitable as they can be. So we expect that when you realize things are going wrong, you have to.
Look, I'll just tell you, NPLs are a function, have strong correlation to the performance of the economy. And at the moment, the outlook is not very bright for the macroeconomy. So you should not say that we think they'll do something because they cannot control the economy. One little bank cannot control the economy. So that's just an observation. I don't expect any answer to that. Okay? I'm just saying.
Okay. Thank you.